strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss?
Very strange. And I don't do it lightly. That leadership culture constantly comes back to me when I think about my experience with the Trump administration.
There you go. That is James Comey last night famously calling the president, reminded him of a mob boss, because he broke down Sammy the Bull, and he worked with Rudy Giuliani earlier in his career, and he says, this reminds me of that. Let's bring in Anthony Scaramucci now, former White House communications director. Had a chance to digest this, and also, you know what it's like to be a businessman in New York, and this president was a businessman in New York. Anthony, welcome back.
It's great to be here.
Are you insulted by that?
Listen, I mean, here's the problem for Italian Americans. I can be insulted by that, but I really can't do anything about it, because for whatever reason, it's still an unprotected class of people where they can say whatever they want about it. You know, I'm in the White House. They're saying I'm a walking pinky ring. Imagine if I was another ethnic group, they couldn't say that, right? But it just speaks to Comey's sanctimony and his lack of awareness in terms of his language, his lack of awareness of who he is as a guy. You know, they call him Cardinal Comey for a reason. He thinks he's got the answers. You know, he thinks he's at that, that papal throne, and he's the one that's going to make these decisions. Look at what he did to Loretta Lynch, Attorney General Lynch. He abrogated her process, and he went out to the press on his own to speak about the campaign, and he made a decision based on politics, okay? And the president's 100% right about this. This was purely politically motivated by James Comey. He looked at the tea leaves. He said, Secretary Clinton's winning. Let me go out there and do this. And then he realized he had some trouble as it related to the Anthony Weiner emails. And then he had a flip-flop on that. And so now he's got every side of the equation disliking him because of the politics.
You read the book. What did you think of the book? What did you
Okay, so I want to be fair about the book. I thought we talked about his upbringing. I was very impressed with his upbringing. When he talks about the culture inside the FBI, he's very impressed with that. He obviously loves President Obama. He has a right to do that. And he tries to act like he's nonpartisan, but he's actually very partisan. And so, when you see his family out there in the Women's March, and you see his wife admitting that she desperately wanted Secretary Clinton to be the first woman president,
sure.
Very, very partisan. But that's okay that you're partisan, but let's tell the American people how partisan you are, and let's drop the sanctimony. And so I don't like the Italian American stuff. I don't like the hits on the president for another reason. You worked for the president. He was your boss, okay? He elected to fire you. I got fired. No big deal. I'm still loyal to the president. And I think that when you're the director of the FBI, you're at a certain level where he is the president. Subordinate yourself to the president, okay, and zip your mouth, okay? Now, someone will say that, well, what about you and John Kelly? I don't know John Kelly. Okay, and John Kelly wasn't even a part of the campaign. And so, what John Kelly did, and my issue with John Kelly is not even related to him firing me. It's the way he's running the White House. So I just want to make that clear as well.
Ultimately, people like you are worried about the president, because it feels like the Democrats are coming after him, and the question of whether or not he obstructed justice at any point along, during his time as president, or the Russian collusion. Regarding obstruction of justice, last night, Mr. Comey said, it's possible.
He said a lot of things like that last night, and by the way, I thought George Stephanopoulos was a very objective interviewer. He pointed out to James Comey what some of the flaws were in his argument, and he also was pointing out to James Comey, and if you were watching it last night, which I did, you're like, okay, this gentleman lacks some level of self-awareness. He's literally has a journalist explaining to him what the defects are, what the flaws are in his thinking process, and how he's going through his analysis of things. So I don't think the president obstructed justice, and I certainly don't think the president was involved in anything that was collusive. And I think all of that will come out. And I think if you're the president, you'd have to be very frustrated by what he's describing as a witch hunt. So I talked to the president on Saturday morning. I think he's very, very confident that he's going to be exonerated.
That's after the Syria strikes. What did he say?
After the Syria strikes, and after he met with Rod Rosenstein, he said, listen, make it clear to people that I am totally comfortable with this investigation, and that I don't believe I've done anything wrong. Comfortable in the sense that he's exonerated, not comfortable in the sense that it's been ridiculously long, unbelievably obtrusive and distracting, and as he describes it, a witch hunt.
Anthony, how hard has it been for the president to hire a high-powered attorney to bolster or replace John Dowd? A lot of people are conflicted. Some don't want to get involved. Where is he at in that process?
I haven't talked to him specifically about that, but
is he happy with his legal team?
I think he is happy with his legal team, and I think he can more or less hire whoever he wants. There were one or two people that have called me specifically related to this, and they're very eager to work for the president. If the president makes a decision to bring on one or two of the people,
Who do you think he should bring on?
I don't want to say that because then I think it's unfair to the president. Let him make that decision. But if you looked at the roster, like if you like rotisserie baseball, which I do, and you look at the roster of people that the president can choose from, he's going to have a world-class legal team. He already has a very, very good legal team. Jay Sekulow is doing a great job.
So what's he waiting for? Because this is the time you needed a first-class legal team.
I think he is. I think he's there. I think he'll probably add somebody in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
But here's the one thing you got to know. He hasn't done anything wrong. And so when you understand the president's personality, he's sort of frustrated by all of that. And so he's not as anxious on the legal side as you would expect.
Since you mentioned you talked to the president after the Syria strike, is there any part of that conversation regarding his, his commitment or his satisfaction in the raid that you could share with us?
Yeah, no, very specifically, he wants people to know that he's a measured guy. He was trying to come up with the right level of strike.
It sounds like he wanted something bigger.
Well, he doesn't want to have a problem in the area as much as he wants to eradicate the use of chemical warfare. I think what the president's made very, very clear, he's not an interventionist, he's not a neoconservative. What he is somebody who really cares about the lives of American men and servicewomen. He doesn't want to put them in harm's way for no reason. Having said that, as a moral leader, and this is the United States and we're a benevolent nation, you can't watch innocent children be gassed by their leadership.
And Macron evidently got to the president and reasoned with him to not pull troops out right away. But the best news for Anthony Scaramucci is being buried right now, and it's not on the card. The Mets are 12-2, and you're one of the owners.
We gotta high five
I
that,
mean,
okay?
my goodness, who could have predicted that?
Ticket sales are up.
Right.
Okay?
And turns out Jillian Milley would like to go.
Just remember what Tom Seaver said, okay? God lives in New York, and he's a Met fan. Okay?
All right. He just been.
You've been Met fan, not a Yankee fan?
I grew up in Port Washington. I like Brian from Long Island, so I used to take the train to Shea Stadium.
You know who loves a conversation? Jillian used to do.
I've been to a game at Citi Field.
Big.
You
When
have,
the
okay.
Phillies were playing.
To watch the Phillies.
And they're playing tight.
By the
and
way,
they're playing close.
Could God let us? Can we remind God that it's been 1986 since we won a World Series?
Yes.
All right,
I
so
remind God every
I'm not
Sunday.
questioning your existence, but I would like another championship.
Anthony, thank you very much for joining us.
We need mercy from God too, Brian.
Okay.
All right. We got that.
All right, very good.
I can appreciate you guys wanting to, cheer on your team. I get it. Fully appreciate it.